Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to the videos another paid request this time for Julie. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1975. Now, this is one of those films that I don't mind. I liked it. But anytime I think of this film, I only think of the first half of the movie. Because the second half, especially the third act, I think it kind of goes a bit downhill. It doesn't get nearly as interesting in terms of the songs, in terms of the story. I think it falls apart in the third act. It's not my favorite musical. I'm not a big musical guy, but I would put Little Shop of Horrors or even maybe South Park the movie above this. But in particular because of the first half and the catchy songs and some of the actors, I do overall like the film. Now, Richard O'Brien, who co-stars in this as Riff Raff, kind of the Igor of the story, he, I think, helped create the whole gist of it. And they're doing these plays and such and musicals. So, hey, 20th Century Fox, let's have a movie out. And you got Tim Curry as Frankenfurter. You have Susan Sarandon, very young Susan Sarandon. You got Barry Bostwick. Barry Bostwick, I remember as the mayor in the Michael J. Fox TV show Spin City. He was also the star of Megaforce, movie from the 80s. Let's say Richard O'Brien's in the film. Meatloaf, may he rest in peace. Marvin. He was born Marvin Lee Day. I don't know, his name is Robert Paulson. But Marvin Lee Day. I like Meatloaf as a singer. Liked a lot of his songs. I wish he was in the film more. And I think that was a lot of wasted potential, which I'll get to. That they could have helped in the third act. But this is one of those things where there are some really good songs in this. In particular, the Time Warp song. I would say that's easily the best song in the movie. And it does have a very quirky, weird, surreal feel to it. Again, especially in the first half. I mean, the first bit, you have this pair of lips coming up to talk to the screen, to talk to you, the viewer. And you have this kind of quirky song. Science fiction, double feature. Dr. X will build a creature. And it does set up sort of this, what the hell am I getting myself into sort of feel with the movie. And then we're introduced to Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick, where they see their friends get married. And then Barry's like, hey, why don't we get married? And he's singing the song, fire in my heart and you fan it, Janet. Damn it, Janet, I love you. And it works for the scene. It's not a song I've ever listened to on its own, but it works for the scene. And there's a couple that love each other. They're nice and sweet, seemingly innocent. So they're going to see this doctor friend of theirs. They did a blowout on their tire, and there's a light at the Frankenstein place, and there's even a song about that. And when they get there, they're welcomed in by the Igor of the story, Riff Raff, played by, again, the co-writer of the film, Richard O'Brien. I thought he did a good job. I know he's been in a few other films later on. I think he was in Dark City, the Alex Proyas film, as well as a Mr. Hand. I forget the name of his character, one of the villains in Dark City. But definitely the best song is the Time Warp. I remember doing the Time Warp. Let's do the Time Warp again. There's a jump to the left and a step to the right. And I know they put in this guy who's like a criminologist, and he's kind of not really the narrator, but not really. He's kind of the guy just moving the story along. I guess to have some kind of structure for the audience to know a little bit of what the fuck's going on, or a little bit to have someone hold a little bit of your hand to get through the proceedings. There's a part of me that kind of wondered, did you need this guy? But I mean, wasn't a bad actor, and it wasn't that annoying or anything. So I guess I'm fine with it. Just very quirky, weird with the group of people in this mansion and the way they're dressed, the clothes and glasses they're wearing. And again, that's a very catchy song, the Time Warp song. And then we're introduced to Tim Curry. I can't remember the first time I ever heard of this film. There was a VHS tape. I don't know if it's on YouTube. It might be in parts. Jack Palance had narrated this thing called Monster Mania. You know, Jack Palance from City Slickers, where he won the Oscar as Curly. Was it? Wait, was his name Curly? Yeah, Curly. Because the sequel was The Legend of Curly's Gold. So yeah, Curly. The He hosted this where he just taught about horror films throughout the years. I like to revisit that again, but not in parts. Hopefully, I can find that has just the whole thing in one go. But it was telling through horror films throughout the years, and the way like Jack Palance is obviously reading this stuff off from the script, but he just has a great voice for it, and so he just says like Dr. Frank in Further. Just the way his voice sounded, it almost was like a bit of confusion, as if he's saying, "What the fuck is this guy called?" Dr. Frank in Further. Like, maybe not, but just the way he said it, felt as if I could feel his confusion of this name during him saying this. And Tim Curry does a really good job with it. He's definitely one of the best parts of the movie. He's committed to the role, and it's a pretty ballsy role at the time. Yeah, I think in 1975, there's a lot of. I mean, if you think there's homophobia now, you should have seen. I wasn't even born, and I know it was a lot worse in 1975 and such. So to be out there to play a character that's purposely a transvestite, literally says it in the song he sings, and the way he's dressed, the way he's moved, and he's doing it with gusto, he's doing it with energy, he's doing it with a ballsy approach of, I don't give a fuck, I'm going to be fully committed to this role. And it works. Became a very memorable character. And definitely the most memorable character in the movie. He's just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Stay for the night. Or maybe a bite. Like, he's just so just committed to it. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that he brought a sense of energy to the proceedings. Shiver with, what was it? He's going up. He's like, you shiver with anticipation. And they're waiting. Patient. Now, Susan Sarandon and Barry Bosworth, they were what they were. It's not their fault. It's just their characters are meant to be just very innocent, and then they're both seduced into the decadence. I mean, that's the whole point of it. Because they both get seduced by Frankenfurter. And that's kind of when the movie was starting to lose me, but before then, I'm like, okay, this is some. You got the two best songs in the movie, Time Warp and the one Tim Curry sings. You're getting the setup of how weird this place is, and the set design, and the costumes people are wearing. Tim Curry giving such an energetic performance. Very playful. Him creating his creation, instead of the Frankenstein monster, is this guy who's muscle bound. He's got the looks. He's like Adonis, named Rocky Horror. And Tim Curry's just madly in love with his creation, and infatuated with it, and it's singing another song in 7 days to make you a man. I don't know if that means you don't just fuck him in the ass to make him a man or what, but I'm like, he's already a man. I don't know if are you the giver or are you the receiver, Tim Curry. I don't know which. Maybe both. Maybe that's the point. You both. Maybe you do both. You make you a man. I don't know. They didn't go in that detail. And then like he's opened up a freezer and Meatloaf comes out. Like I say, his name is Marvin Leah Day. I think he changed it to Michael. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with Marvin. And I mean, he's done movies. He was in Fight Club as Robert Paulson, and yeah, that scene where he dies. His name is Robert Paulson. Edward Norton's getting freaked out by it. He was also the bad guy in the Patrick Swayze film Black Dog. He's actually a pretty decent actor, and loved his songs. Loved his songs. Bat Out of Hell. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Fantastic voice. Very sad when he passed away. Even this is not a bad song. Bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. I would say, honestly, that's my second favorite song. It would be Time Warp, then that song, then the song Tim Curry sings. And he's going around, and he's on his motorcycle. And then as soon as he appears, like a minute or two later, spoiler alert, from here on spoilers. I know, for a film from 1975, but still, just in case. Tim Curry chases him into the freezer, kills him off screen. And that's kind of when the movie kind of died for me. And I don't hate the film, but after that, the film got a lot less interesting. And not just because of that, killing off Meatloaf, but I'm just saying that's kind of really the point where afterward it's just not as interesting. I don't think it's as creative. The songs aren't as good. I think that's why when you see a lot of people mention Rocky Horror Picture Show, they mention stuff that's in the first half of the movie. But no one ever mentions the second half, which is just Riff Raff scares Rocky, and then Tim Curry seduces Janet. Then he seduces Barry Bosworth, and seduces them in the same way. And then Susan Sarandon is now sex obsessed and goes to the Rocky figure. Well, not Balboa, but the other Rocky, the one in this. And then she's really horny, and she's singing a song like, touch it, touch me, I wanna be dirty. I'm like, okay, suck my dick, you'll be dirty then. Come bath, come shower, whatever. So Susan then gets with Rocky. And then, like, anything with Susan Sarandon and Barry Bosworth with their characters really go out the window, because there's there's no more characterization, there's no more character development, there's no more of them really speaking to each other. They're just tools, pawns, that are just kind of there in the background. Like, they really don't matter much anymore. Because then their friend, the doctor arrives. Then let's go have a dinner. Oh, by the way, we're eating part of Robert Paulson. And he's under the table. And then Tim Curry turns some of these people into statues. And then makes them dress like Frankenfurter. And then makes them move, control, dance, sing like Frankenfurter. Then makes them all get into like a pool or whatever, and they're all touching each other. And then they're on a stage and the curtains fall and it's an RKO production, which back to the day, I think the theme from Another World, or no, Teen Kong. I'm thinking Teen Kong. Not sure the theme for Another World. Maybe that was too, but I know Teen Kong was an RKO production, so that's revealed. And then Riff Raff and his sister come out in these costumes that look pretty cheap and tell Tim Curry, we're going to go back to the planet Transylvania. Oh, by the way, when we said we mean us, not you. Because you're decadence and all this other stuff. So they killed Tim Curry. Rocky's sad, and they blast him a couple times, so he climbs up this beam, falls, and then pretty much they tell Barry Bonds, Susan and Doctor, get the fuck out because this whole mansion's gonna go up. They briefly reference the time warp again, and then the last shot is the three kind of struggling through rubble. You don't really, I mean, you know they survived because the criminologist has these papers where they gave testimonies, but you don't know if they're still married, if they're separated, if they learn anything bad or good or whatever about it. Maybe that's okay. That's not the point of the film, but it's kind of hard to care about the characters when even the movie doesn't give a shit about that. Tim Curry just his character getting killed off by these two, and Meatloaf. If Meatloaf was a part of the third act, imagine some of the good songs could have gotten out of Meatloaf, even more so. Whether it be Meatloaf showcasing to them like he's a rebel and you think he's a villain, but he's actually the hero, or he's actually a guy that is misunderstood and he's helping Brad and Janet, and you know they're singing songs back and forth between Meatloaf and Tim Curry, and maybe Meatloaf's doing his version of the time warp with his voice or something. I mean, it's just the second half, or maybe the third act, just it felt like the set design was less glamorous and less interesting. It felt like the songs were less interesting and less catchy. The story felt like it had nowhere to go, just floundering, and the ending just felt pretty lackluster and kind of lame. And it felt like, okay, that's when the lower budget definitely shows with the laser gun thing they're shooting, and like Brad and Janet, they're kind of established at the beginning, and then at the end they're just kind of just pawns in the background that even again the movie doesn't give a fuck about. So it's a movie where it's not my favorite Tim Curry film by far. Films he appeared in, I would say I prefer Stephen King's It. I would say I prefer National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, or even Home Alone 2. His performance in Legend, I'll probably put above this, but the movie itself, like I said, the first half, there's a lot of potential. I just think the second half didn't really fully capitalize that potential. Again, I may be alone in saying that, but I don't give a fuck. It's still my opinion. So no, I do not hate the film, but I say any memories of fondness or intrigue is from the first half. I think as soon as Meatloaf dies, the movie died too a bit. So I like to hear what people think of the second half of this movie. Like what is there to like in the second half, the third act of this movie? I don't know. It's like okay, Tim Curry seducing the two of them, and then again, I just the story seemed like he just didn't know where the fuck he wanted to go after that. At least to me. Or maybe like other sections of the mansion, we could really go crazy with the set design or go crazy with the creativity. But no, it just wasn't the case, at least for me. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.